And hello, everybody. Welcome to the Calgary Real Estate Show. As you can see, I am not in Calgary, or maybe you can't see. I'm not sure, but we are not in Calgary. But we wanted to bring you this weekly update because this is our February wrap up, and really important to get this information out to you. Good morning, Jaden Bax.
Good morning, buddy. How you doing this morning?
Doing well,
Good.
and yeah, I'm on a special mission, as you can see right here. I am in the Tampa Bay area, and we are going to cheer on our Flames tonight at the Amalie Arena, and we'll see which players actually play tonight because so many changes. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, and Jaden has his special assistant there this morning.
Yeah, that's right. Jonah's helping me out this morning.
That is awesome. And let me get our slides up here. And there we go. So let's go back. My apologies, but let's go back to our weekly stats first. So let's do this. And this kind of recaps the month as well. But we could see that overall for all segments for the past week, 428 new listings, but still 575 sales. So that's the highest it's been in the past 5 weeks, for a sale to new listing ratio of 134%, down slightly from last week, but really we're in the midst of our spring market right now. 467 pendings, just slightly down from last week. Days on market still at 23, and then our actives and pendings slightly up, but just really well down from more of a balanced market. No Natalie today, but I'll go through our real estate time machine. So our sales year over year, week over week, we're up 26% compared to last year, same time. New listings only up 3%. So if you do the math there, that's called the seller's market, right? Oh, yeah. Active listings down 19%. You can't make this stuff up. Those are actual numbers. And then pendings just slightly down. Days on market significantly down from last year at the same time. Jaden, I know there was a Bank of Canada announcement yesterday that they're holding the rate again. Yes. We keep waiting with bated breath. It's like Christmas Eve. It's like Groundhog Day and Christmas Eve all wrapped into one.
Absolutely. And the whole thing is that there's just so many different numbers coming from different directions, right? So we get that last GDP number, and then GDP has grown. Oh no, we're not in a recession. We've had GDP growth of 1%. Okay, it's probably too early to cut. Well, we're not really taking into account that we've had huge immigration, so GDP per capita is down, but that's not the important number that everybody's putting out. GDP is up anyway, right? So yeah, it's really been a seesaw. That there's our last CPI inflation numbers were lower than what they expected them to be, and still and right now they're in that range of the 1 to 3. I think it's at 2.9%, the last announcement. And so then people thought, well, it's lower than we thought. Maybe that will push it down. It's just, I think we all know at this point it's going to come down. It's almost disappointing to get a rate hold, right? Like it used to be when the rate holds first came out. It was like, oh, thank goodness they're not going up again. Yeah. And so it's just we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. But it's not, we know it's going to come down right now. We just don't know when. And so it just keeps getting pushed back. We had a lot of economists saying March, April. Still possible in the late April meeting that they will put it down, but a lot of guys are pushing their bets back to June now. And I think if you're, I talked to somebody interesting last night, and he said, with these rates and what's happening, and is it a good time to buy a house? I said, well, listen, I know the rates suck. I know that's an absolute fact. It's tough to get excited about rates right now, but it is a seller's market 100%. If you wait 6 months and your house has gone up $20,000, let's say, and you missed out on that because you wanted the rates to go down by 1%, you're behind the game, right? So in spite of all this, that's your famous phrase, right? You date the rate and marry the house, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's both of our phrases, right? And we'll get to that here in a second, but that could be not more true than it is right now. I don't typically do month over month price increases, but I can tell you that they're, between 2 and 3%, if I'm remembering my stats correctly from when I compiled everything for our month end wrap up this morning. 2 and 3% just from January, guys.
Yeah.
So
and put that in some context, right? So $500,000 at 3%, that's $15,000 in 1 month.
Yeah, in 1 month. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in that, not because that's what we do. That is what I would do, right? If I find the right house that works for me and my family right now, I'm putting an offer in because I don't want that 550,000 house to be 600,000 in 2 months from now, which is very, very possible. If we're getting 2 and 3% month over month increases from January to February, what's going to happen from March to April and April to May in the thick of our spring market? So awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do a couple of community events here. These haven't changed from last week. One thing I do want to point out is I think the Wranglers are getting close to playoffs. There's hockey playoffs going on everywhere. So if you're a hockey fan, Alberta Junior Hockey League has some great low ticket prices if you want to take your family, like Okotoks Oilers. I believe the Calgary Canucks are in the playoffs as well. And I'm not sure actually if Okotoks, if they're actually in the playoffs because of everything that happened with AJHL this year. So my apologies if they're not in a playoff. I don't know. But then there's all these community events going on here as well. Wranglers, Hitmen, tons of stuff going on. I'm not sure the Briar, if that's happening in Calgary because I'm out of touch for right now. But lots going on. Go check it out. And now let's get to our February wrap up. So here we can see overall, and we're going to get into detail here in a second. Benchmark price went up 10% year over year, and sales are up 22, almost 23%. New listings, though, only up 13.5%, and our inventory overall ended the month down 14%. Again, you don't have to be a mathematician to figure out those. Again, those numbers don't crunch, as I was mentioning last month. So we're in a seller's market, and 1.1 months of supply, that's down 30%, I believe. And days on market also down significantly, as we've been reporting week over week. So let's get into some more detail. I've tried to make it bigger or remove some columns, just keep the important stuff in here. So detached sales were up 20% year over year. New listings only up 5%, and our overall inventory was down 18%. So those are sellers market numbers. Obviously, sale to new listing ratio of 79%, months of supply up 30% year over year. I mean, that's minimal. It's basically a month of supply. Pricing up 13% year over year, and that bumped up 2 or 3 points from last month. And all of these segments bumped up from last month. Semi-detached sales are up 36%. New listings up 15%, but again, total inventory down 13%. There should be a percentage sign there. Sale to new listing ratio of 85%, just over a month of supply, and the pricing went up 13% to $639,100. Row townhouses, 12% increase in sales, 27% increase in new listings, but again, the total inventory was down 6% because all these sales are eating up all these new listings, right? Less than a month of supply. That's 16% down year over year. A 19% increase in sales to 436,500. And then on the apartment side of things, our sales are up 30% year over year, and new listings up 20%. And then that was actually down 12% in inventory with a 76% sale to new listing ratio, just over a month of supply. It's a broken record. And pricing up 17% for the benchmark price on apartment condos. So this is where I will stop and say one other thing. So if you are a buyer in today's market, you really need to understand what you're up against in terms of pricing. So where we're at with sale to list price ratio. So if a house is listed for 500 and it's selling for 100% of list price, you'll pay around 500 for that house. Every segment, and I'm just trying to pull it up on my other screen here. The only segment, let me just find it. So here's an example. So row townhouses, 102%. Semi-detached, 101%. Apartment was the only segment where it was only 100%. and detached was at 101%. Right. So you just have to factor that in. Like, gone are the days of, oh, well, I'm looking, my budget's 600, so I'm going to look to 650. No, no, no. If anything, you should be looking max to 600. Like, you should be going 575 to 6, not 600 to 650. Yeah, there's going to be the odd one that slips in because it was overpriced to start with. But with sale to list price ratio being on average there about 101% between all the segments, you've got to be really careful. And that is a pro tip right there. Just like we should have like starburst going off. Starburst. 101% sale to list price ratio. Make sure your budget's figured out. Make sure you talk to Jaden before we go out looking. That is what I will say there.
And absolutely, but the important thing there, Mark, is you're right. Like, people don't need to be blowing things out of the, things are going higher, but they're not. It's not like last year. Remember when we were having those offers of $50,000-$70,000 over ask, right?
Yeah, it's not going to be crazy. There's going to be circumstances because that's the average, right? So there's some below, some above, but on average, you got to think 1% to 2% above asking price based on today's market. And we'll see. I'm going to start including that because I think that's a really important number. That's a practical, like, budget number that people need to know. So next month, I will include that in our wrap up. What happened in Airdrie? They had a 10% increase in new listings, but a 36% increase in sales. Inventory down 10%. Months of supply very similar to Calgary at 1.19. Detached prices up 11%. Semi-detached up 12%. Row up 18%, and apartments up 29% year over year up in Airdrie. In Cochrane, they're starting to see Cochrane swing back to a little bit more similar to Calgary. New listings up 50% year over year, sales up 18%, inventory just slightly up from last year, and months of supply at 2 months up in Cochrane. So if you're thinking kind of like Northwest Calgary and you could live in Cochrane, like with your lifestyle and your work and your kids and school and all that, that's a really good option to consider. Because if we go back, I'm just going to go back. Calgary detached price 721.3, Cochrane 648.6. So that's a big difference. You can get a lot more house for the money in Cochrane, even though their prices went up 12% year over year, as did the semi-detached 12%, row up 12%, and apartments a little bit more balanced there at only a 3% increase. And then when we swing down to Okotoks, this is another good example of a market. Like, again, you're 40 grand below Calgary pricing for detached homes. The challenge there is finding something, as it would be in Calgary too, but there's just less because it's a small center. 11% increase in prices on detached, semi-detached up 15%, row townhouse up 12%. Apartments actually down this past month, but very similar to last year. New listings up 12%, sales up 4%, inventory up 9%, months of supply at 1.23. And that is the monthly wrap up. So to put a bow on all this, I would say that definitely still in a very much a seller's market. Know your budget, be pre-approved. If you need to get documents in to Jaden or your bank, do that, right? Make sure you're armed, because it's like arming yourself to go out house hunting, right? And the pre-approval is the best thing you can do to start with. And then having a really great honed list of your wants and your needs and your whys, right? We always say to our clients, once you get to 85% on your checklist, write an offer, because it never goes to 90 and never goes to 95. And it definitely does not go to 100%. There's always going to be something you're going to change about that house. So if it reaches that 85, you write the offer and move forward. Jaden, one final thought from you.
Go Flames, go! No, we are heading into that spring market, and you're absolutely right. Let's get pre-approved early. We can go through that process very simply. People seem to be, think that it's going to be all this paperwork. For a lot of people, it's a very simple process. I can get an application from somebody, have the documents from them an hour later, and have them fully pre-approved within half an hour after that. So there's nothing to be worried about in terms of that. It's not a huge time commitment. We work together to really focus you down on what we need for documentation to get you out there and get you into the market. So you're absolutely right. The pre-approval is so important. do that early. It's a quick process, and then you're on with Mark, and you could be into your dream home in a hugely short period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, because I've done the mortgage application, because we renewed our mortgage with Jaden earlier this year, and it's very, very simple, guys. It's uploading PDFs of your T4s, and for us, because we own a small business, obviously with our real estate business, there's a little bit more involved, but I'll tell you, it is so simple. It's all electronic. So take that to heart and reach out to Jaden if you have questions. So that's it. That's it for this week. That's the show. I will be cheering hard tonight, and hopefully I won't make a fool of myself on TV. So we'll see.
Okay, have fun, buddy.
Have a good week, everybody, and we will talk to you all